Hi, everybody. This is Klaus Ehlers. This is Klaus in 60 Seconds live on Facebook, where we take 15, 20 minutes, have really interesting conversations with folks whose work intersects with Family Promise. And I am the CEO of Family Promise. Family Promise is the leading national organization addressing family homelessness. I've been off for a month. We had our National Innovation Summit, and then I took a little bit of PTO, but I'm really excited to be back. And one of the most enjoyable things that I get to do is build partnerships with other nonprofit organizations whose work can directly impact and empower the families that we serve. And I think a classic example of that is our guest today from HomeAid. And I'm going to ask them to join us. We're going to start a little dialogue talking about their work and its intersection with Family Promise. So let me welcome Robin Arnett and Scott Larson from HomeAid to join me.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Klaus. Good to see you.
Likewise. Good afternoon, guys. It's nice to be back. I've had a month off, and I really enjoy doing this, and it's nice to be back. And I'm really glad to have you guys as the first guests as I've returned. So I think the place to start is what is HomeAid, right? What are the origins and impact of HomeAid? So kind of tell us a little bit about HomeAid as an organization.
Yeah, well, I'll begin with, it's interesting that it was about 30 years ago, Klaus, that a small but passionate grassroots group of people in the home building industry in Orange County, California, decided to tackle one of our nation's biggest problems, and that is homelessness. And it was interesting because there were two old 1920s era farmhouses that were abandoned. And the city had those farmhouses, a local land developer had some land, and there was a nonprofit in the community that needed to house families that were experiencing homelessness. And the building industry came in and said, this is what we do for a living. Let's renovate them. Let's figure out how it can come together, not have these houses torn down. And the lights went on, and they said, wow, this is really what we do as people in the home building industry. And what's interesting is that at those two farmhouses, and they were in existence for about 20 years, then the only thing that HomeAid had ever done, there would have been about 100 families that had been housed. But they caught a vision. And now through a network of national leading builders and local builders and people throughout the home building industry across the United States, there's been over 1,000 developments of all different kinds, multifamily, ground up construction, that have housed over 500,000 people, both individuals and families. And, I'm humbled to be part of this. And I know Robin is as well. And it's been a tremendous journey of people giving back by doing what they do best as professionals for a cause that is such an issue in our country.
I love that, Scott, because I think our origin story, and it's very similar. Right? It's concerned people saying we've got this problem. There seem to be resources, and we've got talents and skills that we can apply to bring that together and actually solve a problem. And the same grassroots way, and you guys are also on an affiliate model, because how many affiliates do you have now across the country, or chapters?
Yeah, we're in 19 locations around the country, and ranging from all the way from Hawaii to Orlando, Florida, and in a lot of the major metropolitan areas in communities across this country.
That's great. Yeah, and I know that's growth, because just a few years ago, you guys were at a lower number. So that is great, because again, there is that solution, right? There's people in the home building industry that have the skills, the talents, the connections, and of course, there's the tremendous need. So how did each of you get involved in HomeAid? I know, Scott, you're from Orange County, but Robin, how did you get involved in HomeAid?
Oh, such a great story. So I actually went to Chapman University in the city of Orange, California, where the BIA of Orange County, California is located, the creators of HomeAid. And my first job out of college was with the BIA. And so many years I've watched HomeAid grow. And the CEO at the time contacted me. I was living in Washington, D.C., and he needed a consultant to help him do some work there. And asked if I knew anybody interested, and I thought about it for a couple of hours, and I thought, I want that person to be me. And 18 years later, I'm still at HomeAid. So it was a a pleasure to watch it grow, and it's been just a pleasure to be involved with it for the last 18 years. It's just on a daily basis. It's just an amazing organization with amazing folks.
Fantastic. And Scott, what was your entry point?
You know, it's interesting because when I was in high school, I was a wannabe custom home builder, construction ROP, and worked in the construction industry through college. And then my career took a little bit of a left turn, and I landed in the nonprofit industry after graduating from college. And I was working for the American Red Cross, and very challenging, the work of the American Red Cross. And a friend of mine called me and said, Scott, I just interviewed for this job that I'm not qualified for, but with your construction and nonprofit background, I think you're the ideal candidate. And I thought, well, let me look into it. And she says, it's related to homelessness. And I thought, well, homelessness, how complicated could that be? I'll give it a couple years. Well, fast forward over 20 years, it is the most complicated issue in our society. It's personal, it's social, it's the built environment, and I get to work with amazing nonprofit organizations like Family Promise and amazing people in the building industry to really effectively change the built environment and homelessness for individuals and families. And it's been just an amazing journey, an unexpected journey, as I often say, to The Hobbit.
Yeah. Well, I don't know who takes expected journeys. That sounds like a very boring life.
Yes, exactly.
You talked about the impact, right? All the different kinds of builds you've done and so on. I think we'll talk a little bit too about some of the specific projects you've done with affiliates. But I'm sort of interested. I think what's always great is you're doing these things, but there's always collateral impacts. There's other things that come out of it, right? It's that kind of ripple effect. So, any stories of how HomeAid may have done like one specific project, but that grew into something with even more impact?
Yeah, it's interesting because when a project comes to us, we look at it from a variety of different levels. And granted, when a project is completed, whether or not it's a remodel or ground up construction, a few $1,000s or multi-million dollars, ultimately people live in there and there's impact. But what I've seen, and I think maybe this is where you're going, I've seen not only communities change, I've seen streets that when we took on the worst project on the street, it was a ripple effect that people began to feel safe. The neighborhoods began to improve. And now that built asset, that built environment has changed that street and the community. Another component is that many of the nonprofits that HomeAid has partnered with, people really didn't know, or that's the shelter, or that they deal with homeless people. But when we've been able to build what we've built, it's risen these nonprofits to be a community asset where they've gotten more donors, and it's put them basically on the map, and it's led to another project. It's led to investments. And then one of the things that Robin and I see virtually day in and day out is that the people in the building industry that are involved with our work, their lives are changed. Mm-hmm. We feel that we change as many people's lives in the community as we do in the building industry because they're bringing their passions and skills to the table, and they're doing it for a tremendous purpose, and their lives are changed. So there's many collateral and exponential impact that has happened. And Robin, I don't know if you want to expand on that, but I see just huge things that have happened because of every single project that HomeAid has done.
Absolutely. I would just add and kind of make it just more on an individual level. The companies and the builders that will say, yes, I'm going to do this project and we're going to do X, Y, and Z, but then they get there and they see what else needs to be done, and without batting an eye, they're doing twice as much work as they signed up to do just because they know it's the right thing to do. And so I think not only in the community is there that impact, but just on the individual basis, just seeing that everyone has the heart to help, and they just, yes, I'll do that, and yes, I'll do that, and it's really amazing to watch it happen just as you're walking through a project that needs a renovation, and just to see someone say, and we're going to do this and this and this, it's fantastic.
And one of the other things, Klaus, is that when you talk about education and talk about the issues of homelessness, we've been able to really shine the light on the topic in the community. And people have wanted to respond. And one of the things that in many of your affiliates that have worked with us have benefited from it, many of our chapters run an annual diaper drive where they're collecting, our work in Colorado and Denver collected 1.5 million diapers when they just completed their drive. It has nothing to do with construction. And one might think, well, what does it have to do with homelessness? Well, it has everything to do with families that are experiencing homelessness, because they're having to choose between housing and feeding and diapering a bottom. And if we as a community, if we as the people in the building industry can meet that need, what a tremendous education and engagement opportunity and direct need that your affiliates don't have to buy those diapers for the families that you're helping. It's been a tremendous impact.
I agree, and yeah, it's an interesting element of, I know like our affiliate in Las Vegas, was working with HomeAid for years, and it was just that, it was drives and so on, right? I mean, like there was just tremendous benefit out of that, and I've gotten to see some of the HomeAid facilities in Houston and in Georgia, and I think about Georgia in particular in Hall County. That was a really interesting dynamic because it was sort of not the usual HomeAid arrangement, because it was this modular unit. Obviously a long, complicated story, but right, they got this fantastic unit, and then that got them engaged with a local builder, really looking at some of the ways that they could expand out. And they've done this great work with this community center that serves as a childcare center connected to senior housing, and connecting the seniors with the children. This beautiful community building, and the affiliate itself, of course, did all that work to make that happen. But HomeAid really was part of the catalyst. It was one of the catalysts to bring all that incredible stuff into place. So I love it. What you guys have grown and had more presence. Unfortunately, still very, very much needed, as we all know. What does the future look like for HomeAid? What do you guys have, a 5-year vision, 10-year vision, and what does that look like?
Well, there's a couple of things. Robin's work is focused on our chapter development and expansion. And there's a number of markets that we're wanting to explore and to get into because we have a strong base in the building industry. Robin, you want to talk a little bit about kind of where we've been the last couple of years and where we're wanting to go?
Well, we've been in COVID, so there's that. We've been in quarantine, but as we look to the future, as you both just said, the need is tremendous and the need is everywhere. So, it's our job to kind of look at the community and where we would best fit. And we have some criteria and some diligence, a lot of due diligence that we do before we go into a community. But, we're looking at Raleigh and Charlotte and Dallas and San Antonio. And we have a list, but those are off the top of my head. And so, we want to grow so that we can help more folks experiencing homelessness. And so, we have a plan, and we hope to be able to continue to grow in the years coming up.
And Robin, always feel free to drop us a line and figure out ways we can help you, because we've got great presence in Dallas, great presence in Raleigh, presence around Charlotte, and not actually that far from San Antonio too. So if there's any growth markets,
absolutely,
and anything we can do, do let us know.
Well, for many years, you guys have been our first call when we look at a new market. So, I'm calling.
Scott, anything else you wanted to add to sort of the future for HomeAid?
Just when we look at it, we've been in conversations with our builders. And, if you're following what's going on in the building industry, it is hard right now. The tremendous pressure on them and the lack of lumber and windows, and there's pressures, but we've been through the ups and downs over the 30 years of HomeAid, through recessions and big times. And the interesting thing that our community said is don't stop asking us to be involved. Yes, this is what we're doing, but don't be afraid, even though there's a lot of pressures out there, to engage us. And that's really encouraging on our end, because not only do we need to sustain our current work and current projects, and if we take on a project with Family Promise or another nonprofit in the community, we need the backing of the builders, commercial or residential, but they see the impact, and they're really pushing us to look at new markets and where to go, and then really to expand in other community partners, because there are so many people that get involved with us from the banking industry and from other community partners, and we're even beginning to look at how we partner in some of our chapters with the public entity. One of our chapters completed a 24,000 square foot emergency shelter for the county. And so the opportunities are there, and we have the skills and expertise to come in and say, you do what you do best, government or nonprofit. We do what we do best in building, and let's partner together. So we're going to look at everything. And some of our chapters have recently taken on tiny homes and really modeling what that should look like in a community. Others have taken on resource centers. Others are stepping into true affordable housing type projects that ultimately, will permanently end someone's homelessness. Mm-hmm. So the opportunities, even with our existing chapters, are wide, and we really just want to embrace it because, we feel that we have something to offer and to not only sustain but to grow and impact a particular community.
Yeah, and again, that impact is tremendous. You talked about it, right? 500,000 people have been served through HomeAid projects and communities, and that's probably one estimate, but it's not looking at some of that ripple effect, the kind of other changes they were able to create in communities. So, the last question is a practical question because a lot of the people who view this are Family Promise affiliates. Again, a number of affiliates have had fantastic partnerships with HomeAid. You guys have helped us with day centers, with housing, with various other buildings. So if anybody is interested in connecting with HomeAid, what would you advise them? What should they think about? And what should they expect?
Well, there's a couple of things. They can always reach out. Our website is homeaid.org, and they can connect with Robin or myself or directly link to one of our local chapters. But the basic premise is that Family Promise knows how to effectively run your programs to end the home. When you have a construction need, that's where we step in. And the local affiliate where I'm at in Orange County, there's a great partnership going on with them. They have a project that is with the city. The city has land. We've been doing the design and entitlement. We have a builder, and we can really step in and grow and expand the breadth of what one of your local affiliates is doing. It's just a matter of connecting, and things always take time, but the relationship is so important to develop and to really hear what your needs are and how we can grow with you over time. So we welcome the call, and we welcome connecting with your people around the country, even where we don't have a chapter, because Robin said, there's always an opportunity for a band.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I would say to affiliates, reach out to your regional directors, or you can contact me, and we can share with you a little bit about the incredible successes, the expectations too. Again, it's a partnership. It's you guys are mobilizing resources, but there needs to be a commitment on all sides. I think, and that's how things are successful. Terrific. Any last words or thoughts, Robin or Scott, before we sign off here?
I would just say that our relationship with Family Promise has just been such a gift over the years, and we just look forward to continuing to work with you and other organizations that do similar work that you guys do. But it's been just a fantastic partnership. So thank you for that for the last few years.
Yeah, and I completely echo that, because we've been partners, and I know that when we're together, there's just a camaraderie that we truly appreciate, because there's a common ground of what we're trying to solve in a particular community that is impacting lives.
Yeah, well, I thank you both for being on my Facebook Live here, but I thank you so much for the incredible work that HomeAid has done across the country with affiliates, with so many other organizations, and obviously just the direct benefit, but also demonstrating that the community really cares, can be mobilized to take meaningful action that alters the course of homelessness in a community, and that from there we can grow towards more and more solutions I think the work you do is incredible, but it's also a model for how everybody is part of the solution to family homelessness. So thank you both so much. Have a fantastic weekend. And we'll be talking soon. Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.